We are back on the Rational Boomer podcast. Hopefully, your day is going well. It is Thursday, and today we have Old Soul with us. Now, we got a taste of Old Soul yesterday during the live. She was with us for a bit, uh, but we needed to take a whole hour or so with Old Soul because she's got some interesting insight. She's been very busy because she's got boots on the ground and protesting and being an activist and such. And Old Soul, you're on the road currently. We're not going to say where you're at, but you're still fighting the good fight.
Yeah, I'm still fighting a good fight. I think I told you before we filmed, how much we've been pushing for Democrats to do something. They got to get out there and they got to do something. And we got to back them up too. So that's what I'm doing, backing them up. And
Well,
then
you
the protest on Saturday is 50-51. And the reason that it's that way is because it's 50 protests, 50 states, one movement. So that's the 50-51 part, because a lot of people didn't understand that. And that's the breakdown of it.
Well, even though the media isn't reporting it as much as they should, what's been your opinion of how these protests have been going as far as people attending and the activity at these protests? Have you been impressed by that?
I'm impressed at how big they're getting. I really am. One thing I was shocked at first, but I'm not shocked anymore. But it seems like at every protest, there is more and more and more people who voted for Donald Trump. The sad part about it is a lot of these people they seriously didn't know how bad it was going to be until it hit them. So we're getting more
So,
and more of those people.
so we had the protest on April 5th. That they say had as many as 5 million people on the streets. My
Yeah.
presumption is it's going to be bigger on the 19th, which is Saturday. Uh,
Yeah.
could something like
And then
this even double in size?
yeah, it could. And then we have one that's strictly in support of veterans, and that one I believe is going to be June 5th. I believe so, but I'll double check just to be sure. But the one that's strictly supporting veterans is going to be June 5th
Yeah.
because they have some more challenges to face with this administration.
What I'm amazed by is, in spite of what we saw on January 6, 2021, and how violent and out of hand that got, we got
Yeah.
5 million people on the streets on April 5th. We've got more coming out on April 19th. It seems like it, for the most part, was a peaceful event. Is that true from what you saw?
Yeah, it was pretty peaceful. You did have people here and there trying to
Start shit?
disrupt, I guess, like the counter protesters, but they pretty much moved on pretty quickly. I think what the realization that they were outnumbered is
Yeah.
it was pretty quick for them to realize that. So yeah, yeah, they
Keep
tried, but
talking, dumb fuck. But we got
yeah,
5 million people. We're going to kick your ass. Yeah,
yeah,
they're cowards by trade, so it's not surprising that they would run off when they realized they were outnumbered. Uh, the big
yeah,
story, the big story yesterday was, of course, this situation with Kilmar Garcia. And for those people that don't remember, he is one of the immigrants that was picked up by ICE, put on a plane, and sent to a prison in El Salvador. The main difference between Kilmar and the rest of these people, or most of these people, is that he was picked up accidentally. The Donald Trump administration acknowledged that they were wrong by picking him up and clerical error. Of course, that's all it is. They put him on a plane nonetheless, and they sent him to El Salvador. Um, and given that everybody knew that it was wrong, you would presume that they'd go down, get him, and bring him back. But Donald Trump and everybody in the administration is trying to say, oh, we can't do that. El Salvador's a sovereign nation and all this sort of stuff. But we found out a lot yesterday because Senator Van Hollen from Maryland, the state where Garcia's from, went down there to try to check on Albrega Garcia, which I think was important because a lot of people are uncertain whether Abrega Garcia is safe or even alive anymore. There's been no indication of that.
yeah,
So Van Hollen goes down there. He's tired of the bullshit, tired of the lies from Donald Trump, and he wants to go see this gentleman, Garcia. Not surprisingly, the the government of El Salvador said, yeah, now you're not going to be able to see him. They said, can I talk to him on the phone? They said, no, you can't do that either. And that particular situation troubled me. And I
Yeah.
want to see what you think about this because Donald Trump is getting a lot of heat. A lot of people are talking about that they think this guy is no longer with us. And I've heard some facts that this particular prison, nobody's left that prison alive ever. So it's reasonable to think something could have happened to him. Um, and I would have thought that Donald Trump would have said, don't let him loose, but at least show him so I can get these people hating me for this guy possibly being hurt. But when they didn't do that, that troubled me. That troubled me that they wouldn't show him, and that tells me the worst may have happened.
Yeah, I've been kind of holding off on saying that. But when you have a situation like this, first of all, for the congressman, I gotta give him his shout outs because I'm pretty sure he knew that for him being an older white guy in Congress going, he would be safe even without diplomatic protections versus Frost and Garcia going. So I got to give him a shout out for that because it
Yeah,
could have gone completely sideways, especially when you think about Congressman Ryan and what happened to him in Jonestown. It could
right.
have gone sideways. So I got to give him a shout out for doing that. But I don't know where else your mind can go when you can't so much as talk to this man on the phone and seeing how upset and how much pressure the American people as a whole are putting on him. I watched that chocolate chip Grassley. I watched his town hall, and just to
Yeah.
see like someone who is older and someone who is white and is like, hey, I don't care about none of that. This is America, and per our Constitution, he has due process. And why are you guys not doing anything about it? And that's what we need is this group of people to be pissed off. And that group of people was getting pissed off, and they are not holding back from it. And I think to see that, it gave me hope that we can kind of limit this that's happening right now. However, when you think about his safety, I don't know where else your mind could go. But I'm very
Yeah.
mindful of saying that because I know he has family, a wife, and children out there who, they're holding on to hope right now. And I don't want to be the one to add to that negativity, but it's not negative. I think it's just reality at this point. And I don't know where else our mind is supposed to go when you can't at least talk to him on the phone. And
Yeah.
I didn't read, but there's an article about Donald Trump and his first administration actually deporting the wrong person and what they did to get that person back. So they know how to do it. They're choosing not to do it, or if there isn't a life to get back and they're just trying to cover it up and all of this crap. Even with Caroline Lovett and that stupid stunt that she pulled, bringing up some woman and using her as a prop in a damn press briefing. And they're going
Yeah.
to those extremes. Something's not right. Something's
Yeah.
not right
Something.
about
But, Senator Van Hollen said something very compelling, very damning for Donald Trump. He made a good point. He said that the DOJ and the government of America have found Garcia not guilty of anything. There's no evidence that he's guilty of anything. They've acknowledged that it was a mistake to send him off. They're
Yeah.
saying now that El Salvador has them and nothing he can do about it, which is absolute bullshit because uh, not really a prisoner of El Salvador. He's a prisoner of Donald Trump. He's just happened to be placed in El Salvador because that would maybe be the most cruel place they could send him.
Yeah.
Guantanamo wasn't working, so they picked out El Salvador. But the senator said this, and he talked to the government of El Salvador and said, has Garcia committed any crimes here? Is he wanted for anything? Which would be weird if he was, because he hasn't been there in 11 or 12 years. So he can't possibly be wanted for something. And Senator Ryan said, so if he's not guilty of anything, why don't you just let him go? Why don't you just let him out of here and send him home? And they came up with this thing, well, we can't just release him and smuggle him back into the country. And Pam Bondi said after the Supreme Court thing, well, we'll send a plane to get him. That's hardly smuggling. But the one point that the senator made that could haunt Donald Trump for a long time, he kept asking, why won't you just release him? And the government said, because Donald Trump is paying us to do it. So, in
Yeah.
essence, what's that saying is that taxpayer money is paying to imprison an innocent man in a horrific fucking prison. And so the senator said at this point, with that, knowing that now, without question, Donald Trump knowingly went against a court order. It's hard to deny that now.
Yeah, not even a court order, but against his own administration.
Yeah,
Because people, and I didn't even realize this until I heard Kelsey talking about it. And he came here under Donald Trump's administration. They
right.
had absolutely no problem with him coming to this country. He got the green light. And when you hear MAGA saying things like, oh, you got to come here the right way, you got to come here the right way, he did. And now it's crickets. They don't care. That's because nothing that they say they care about. It's just a talking point to excuse a certain behavior. So he came here under Donald Trump's first administration. They gave him the green light. He came here the legal way. They deported him illegally. They came out and they said that, yeah, it was, well, in court, they're saying, yeah, it was an accident. It was a boo boo. Sometimes in public, they may say it, but now they're all sticking to this idiotic script of he's an MS-13 gang member. He's done all of these horrible atrocities and all this other kind of crap with no evidence at all to back
Right.
that up. But they know that they can just tell blatant lies and there's no consequences to that. I'm hoping that he's alive and I'm hoping that he can come back home. Um, and even if he's not, as far as his family goes, I hope that that Dominion lawsuit settlement checks look like a welfare check compared to what this family and this man is going to get. And that goes the same for the rest of the immigrants that they kidnapped.
Well, you've got kind of the pulse of what's going on in the streets with the protest and stuff. And I have to
Yeah.
believe if we find out this guy's been killed, if he's been murdered, I can't imagine what people are going to react. I mean, you talked about Chuck Grassley's town hall. Somebody
Yeah.
pointed something out to me. One guy was yelling at Chuck Grassley, and he was talking about Chuck Grassley's oath and due process, and he was really tearing into Chuck Grassley. He was also wearing a red hat. He was also
Yeah.
wearing a red hat, which is
Mhm.
interesting. Um, but what do you think happens if we find out? People are upset that he sent somebody innocent away to a prison in El Salvador. What do you think happens if we find out that this guy's been killed?
I don't think the administration is ready for that. Because one of the things I'm saying, and a lot of things that other people are saying, is we have to fight for him and the rest of these people who are illegally being detained. We have to, because it always starts with the other person first. It starts with them. So if we don't fight for them, we're going to be next. So we need to stop this before it gets to us. And I constantly keep saying, because I don't know what the disconnect is, but there are women in this MAGA movement who feel like women are not having their rights taken away, that it's not just going to be, it's just going to be brown and black people and all of that other kind of crap. That's not true. They are coming for women just as hard as they're coming for everybody else. So unless you are willing to stand in line and wait your turn, you need to step up and you need to do something before it gets to you. And then that's something that we're pushing right now. So you got a lot of people who feel like, oh shit, I can be next. And then that's why they're taken to the streets, is because we don't want it to get to us. Not only is it wrong and it's anti-American, but we are not going to allow this to keep happening. And even though he's been saying that he wants to take American citizens and put them in other countries, when he said that on that hot mic to the El Salvadoran president, like, hey, we need you to build more prisons and all that other kind of crap, we're sending you the homegrowns. When he said it, he was saying it where he didn't think people were hearing. So it's kind of
Right.
like, oh, we overheard a secret that we weren't supposed to know. That's what he's saying behind closed doors. And so maybe that's why people are taking it more seriously. But you got to remember, people in red states, when you look at like the meth crisis and and fentanyl crisis that's going on in a lot of these like rural areas and red communities, that could be any of y'all at any point being rounded up and sent to El Salvador. So you either need to fight for Garcia and the rest of these men, or you just need to line up and wait for it to be your turn. Because it's not going
Well,
to take much for Donald Trump to send you to El Salvador. And good luck to your family getting you back home. That ain't gonna happen. So you need to fight for
yeah,
him before it gets period.
they not only got to get you back home, they got to do it before they kill you. And chances
Yeah,
are they're going to do that. Um, it's, the other thing he said about when he was caught off mic like that, and that's pretty compelling because if he said it in a speech, this you could maybe go along with this, but they said, "Oh, he was just joking."
yeah, yeah,
But what people have to understand about narcissist, joking is the first step. I'm going to joke about it, float that balloon, kind of soften it up a little bit, and then
yeah.
ultimately really do it. We know this is true because Donald Trump has done it numbers of times since he's been in the political sphere. Um, we've got to
That's a good
assume the worst from Donald Trump because that's all we've seen.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Like it didn't dawn on me until you said that. It takes away that I was just joking excuse. It takes away that, oh, he really didn't mean that excuse. Or when you have Republicans like, oh, that he always jokes around like that. The people don't understand him. The left, they just want to demonize him. It takes that talking point away from them when he gets caught on a hot mic saying that. And it completely took that away. And a lot of people woke up like, oh crap, wait, you know what I mean? It
Yeah,
doesn't take much for Donald Trump to want to deport you or anything like that. It's not going to take much. So if you allow him to get away with this, it's going to be the next thing, the next thing, and the next thing. I think the immigrants right now who he kidnapped, I think they're kind of like the test subjects to see what are the people going to do? What are the courts going to do or not do? Or if we stand strong in this and we don't listen to the courts, what's going to happen? You know what I mean? And it's so evil to use human being as like lab rats. And I
yeah.
think that's what they're doing. They're using them to see how far they can push it, what's going to happen or what's not going to happen. It's like they're playing with these people's lives, these little sick, twisted games that they're playing. Ugh.
Yeah, absolutely. The thing about it is that Donald Trump always pushes the envelope. And then
Yeah.
when he's proved wrong, you would think he'd stop and step back. He doesn't do that. He keeps going because he can't admit that he's wrong. And that's one of the problems with this case with Garcia. I saw another creator on TikTok, Hawk, and he made a good point. He said Donald Trump and Bukele, the president of El Salvador, can't afford to return him to the United States. First of all,
Oh no.
Donald Trump can never admit he was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Secondly, Bukele is not going to want this guy to come back here and go on 60 Minutes and talk about the treatment he received down there. This is all bad shit for them if this guy comes back. So they're going to do everything they can to stop that from happening.
Yeah. And you know what the sad part about it is when you think about it like that, it's kind of like they can't let him come back alive because
No, they
those
can't.
secrets that he knows, they will never risk those secrets getting out. They're just not going to risk that. Um, and that's like such a horrible thing to think about. Um, uh, when you look at it like that, it's just kind of like, you know, I don't think that they would risk it, letting him come and tell his story. They're just not going to let that happen. They're
Yeah,
not going to let it.
unfortunately, Garcia may end up being a sacrifice, and that's a sad thing to say. But this is the kind of people we're dealing with. We also heard yesterday that Judge Boasberg has said they found probable cause for criminal contempt by the Trump administration for
Yeah,
ignoring his orders and sending people like Garcia on the planes. I'm going to be interested to see what the reaction to that is with Donald Trump and the Trump administration, because they're not going to put Donald Trump in jail, but they can put lawyers in jail. And
Mhm.
people will say to me, well, what if he just pardons them after he puts them in jail? Well, here's the problem with that for a lawyer. You put him in jail, you pardon him, but in order to pardon him, he has to admit to doing the wrong thing. So he's pardoned, he's out of jail, but he's probably going to be disbarred because he committed a fucking crime. So his
Yeah.
career is done. And it's going to be interesting to see how many people around Donald Trump are willing to throw away their lives for Donald Trump. It's crazy. Some people do, some people have, but will they continue?
Um, Not only that, but Donald Trump is able to pardon on federal crimes.
Right.
If you look at some of these governors who are getting creative and some of these AGs like Letitia James, who is getting very creative, because she's made it very clear. I'm just waiting for him to be done being president by one way or another. And I'm dragging his butt to court. These ain't going to be federal crimes. These are going to be state crimes. And I'm pretty sure there's quite a few AGs out there who is just chomping at the bit. So regardless if they lose their bar license or not, there are people who are going to find state charges and hold these people accountable. So you want to throw away your bar license for Donald Trump? Some of these people, it might not even be a big deal because they are millionaires over 10 times over by now, but
Yeah.
you feel to sacrifice your freedom. You're getting ready to sacrifice your children, your wife, your family, everything that you have built for this orange turd. I don't think so. There's not too many people in his circle who are brave and who is going to just stand up like that. These people are going to fold like cheap suits. They are going to fold. The judges just need to start applying pressure because you can get to anybody through their connections. Donald Trump does it all the time. I'm gonna
Yeah.
not target the judge. I'm gonna target his wife. I'm gonna target his daughter. I'm gonna target this person and that person, and that's how they can reach you. So they don't have to put their hands on you for you to be touched. And they need to do is just start applying pressure to these people around Donald Trump. We know that they're cowards. We know that they are fake. We know that they're weasels. These people don't have a backbone. They have no convictions on anything other than kissing Trump's butt and making money. They are not going to be hard to make say uncle. Not at all.
No,
We can,
what surprises me about this though is if you're a reasonable human being and you can take a look at what's going on with Donald Trump, you can see we're in the later stages. This motherfucker's running amok. He's screwing up everywhere. He's screwing up the economy. He's making mistakes with deportations. He's
yeah,
cutting people's livelihoods out. He's not a very well liked man, and the Republicans are going to get the brunt of it in the 2026 election. If I'm a
yeah,
Republican right now, I see the end coming. And I don't want to go over the bridge with Donald Trump because I'd like maybe a career or something. I said in a previous podcast, if I'm a Republican, time to get brave and say, no, I'm against Donald Trump. Now, he may try to do whatever he wants to do, but Donald Trump's not going to be around forever. But
no,
you're going to be around a lot longer than he is. Who's going to survive this? If you go down with the ship and you go down with Donald Trump, you're done. I'm
I
surprised they
mean,
don't see this yet.
you can look at the elections. So it's kind of like the the general elections is completely different from the primary. If you go into a primary with Donald Trump or Elon Musk name attached to you, you can hang it up.
Yeah.
Like, and then if you are already in Congress and you already have that name recognition, you're not really worried about a primary like that anyway. All you need to do is get through the general. And how do you get through the general? You need to start calling out Trump and his BS because the only Republicans who are surviving in like these special elections, and I'm pretty sure these upcoming elections, is those who go against Donald Trump. Everybody else, their constituents are asking, why aren't you doing your job? Why are you allowing him to get away with that? And if you look at Marjorie Taylor Greene's town hall, you can see it however you want to. But that heifer showed up with security because she already knew what was going on. If your voice raised an octave, you needed to get up out of there because she didn't want to be embarrassed. But look how many empty seats was in there. And she even
Yeah.
told the one woman, oh, the protest is outside. What they don't show you on television is the protest outside is like 5 times bigger than a handful of people that's sitting in there. That
Right.
handful of racist people, yeah, they sat in there. But when you go outside and you see the rest of her district calling her out and she's too afraid to allow them to come inside and have their voices heard, I never thought that I would say this, but MTG, she got another 2 years in Congress. I'm pretty sure her constituents is getting sick of her butt, just like the rest of us.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was happy to see at least one woman was able to get out, was being hauled out of there. But before she got out, she did call her a big-bodied butch bigot.
I
And,
mean,
and and like I said in one of my TikToks, I love that woman. If I were younger and single, I'd have a new girlfriend.
that's such a fitting name for Marjorie. That woman gets on my nerves. I cannot wait for her to get out of Congress. And the thing is, I like the fact that AOC blasted her out. Like
Yeah,
we definitely need Democrats doing that. How much money did she take in that dip? Look how much money she made in that dip. But not only did she take that dip and make that money, she made it off of your 401k going down. Like
right.
that's what she did. And I think that what people are not realizing is things is always like stagnant and delayed. And so like the full effects of what Donald Trump is doing right now, it hasn't been felt yet. But from what I've been told is by like mid-May, it's going to be completely different than what it is right now. And that's when you'll start feeling like the real full effects of what he is doing. And what he is doing, you can't come back from that. Like overnight, you just don't get your reputation back like that. People don't just say, oh yeah, you just got through stabbing me in the back and, tarnishing my name and my country. We can be friends now. No, it don't work like that. And I think that that's what Republicans in Congress, I think that's what they're not grasping because I honestly think that they are holding on with Donald Trump so that he can do what they've always been wanting to do, and that is cut Social Security. Like they want him to do that. So they're holding on until he does that one thing that they've always wanted to do and they haven't been able to do it. And then all of a sudden they're going to want to just say, hey, okay, we've had enough, and they want to switch it around. And they think the people is just going to be cool with that.
No.
It's like they think we're all as dumb as their voters are.
I think
They are.
I think they're already feeling the heat at the prospect of Medicare or Medicaid or Social Security cuts. I was going to ask you, do you think we're at the early stages of an exodus from the Republicans, exodus from Donald Trump? I mean, we've got 4 or 5 Republican senators saying, yeah, we got to get some control over this tariff thing. And yesterday we heard that there are at least 12 Republicans in the House saying, yeah, now we're not going to sign on to a bill that's going to cut Medicaid. So this is fucking things up for Mike Johnson. And I think when it comes down to the last moment, they aren't going to have the courage to do this. They're seeing what's happening already. And if they actually
Yeah.
cut Medicaid, all hell is going to break loose.
You know, they know. They know what's up. But I think that, and I don't think this is just a Republican problem. I really don't. I think that they have gotten so used to not needing to represent the people. They
I
are so
agree.
used to I don't have like I'm gonna go out here every couple of years or every 6 years if you are in the Senate, and I'm gonna talk a good game. They're gonna reelect me. I'm gonna come in here and I'm gonna do the opposite. Anyone who is representing red states, they have benefited from that more than anybody else because they are taker states. And so their constituents get to like say, hey, I want to vote for those racist policies. I want to vote to be able to take this away from this group of people over here, or now allow this group of people to access whatever funds. But I'm going to do that. It's against my own interest. However, we're still going to have these socialist programs coming here and help us out, like EBT, like Medicaid, like Medicare, like all of this other stuff. They still get to have that and vote for the racist policies at the same time. But
Right.
once Trump takes away the EBT, the Medicare, the Medicaid, they won't even give food to food banks for hungry people right now. So once you don't have that, you're kind of forced to vote for your own best interest, even if it helps other people. Because if you don't do that, you are going to hurt just as much as the people who you want to hurt. You know what I mean? So they've been allowed to kind of like ride this racist crap and vote for the people that hurt others and just be completely fine with that because the government is still going to be there to give them their benefits. But
Yeah.
now they understand that, wait a minute, the government might not be there to give me my benefits. So I need to vote for somebody who's going to fight for that. And then kind of like stop voting against people and start voting for something. The sad part about it is this is the lesson that they're learning, but we all have to ride it with them. We
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. You know, the thing about it is that people I'm watching Donald Trump, and to the best of my knowledge of dealing with people with his personality, he seems
yeah,
like he's in that death spiral, ready for the crash, because everything he does is just ridiculous, and then he just doubles down. The economy goes to shit, he backs off, and then somebody says something that he doesn't like, and then he comes up and puts more tariffs on. He's putting this country in a very bad situation, and people around him that know anything have to know this. What he's doing with China is going to absolutely cripple this country in many ways. It's going to hurt China, certainly, but
mm-hmm.
China is got some resolve, and they're not going to give in to Donald Trump. Donald Trump talks about negotiating with people. The fact of the matter is nobody wants to negotiate with him because you can't count on what he says. He did a fucking trade deal with Canada and Mexico. He wrote the goddamn thing, and now he says it's worthless. So what's the point of negotiating with a guy that you can't trust and you don't know what he's going to do? And this is going to cause all kinds of problems. There is going to be no agreements for
Yeah,
trade, and it's just going to continue to go to shit. Hell, yesterday, because the Fed chief came out and said, "Yeah, this doesn't look good." The stock market dropped another 700 points. I mean, how long
yeah.
are people going to be willing to put up with that?
At first I thought Donald Trump just don't care. And then
I
that
thought so
thought,
too.
yeah, it was reaffirmed when he got caught saying, yeah, I love this SHIT, right? He got caught saying that. So I'm like, oh yeah, he getting off on this. He don't care. He likes the chaos and the drama. As long as people are saying his name and talking about him and writing about him, he is completely fine with this. However, I did see his press secretary come out and say, the ball is in China's court. We're waiting on China. Blah, like this heifer might as well have came out and said, China, can you please call Donald Trump? Like she might as well have just said that because she's like, it's in their court. We're waiting on China. Like she was trying to spin it, but like heifer, you was begging for China to call you when they did not start this crap. And they do not care. China is making deals. I mean, deals with Africa, with Canada. They are making deals like you would not believe the type of deals that they is making. They're kind of like, I think, I know for women, we've been in this situation. I don't know if this is for men, but we've all had like that coworker or that guy in the neighborhood or maybe a friend from high school or something, and they just lurking in the background. They're just
Yeah.
waiting for your to mess up. And as soon as he mess up, they swoop in. They never miss when you change your hairstyle. They never miss when you got a new outfit. They just there waiting, right? And as soon as he mess up, boom, they swooping in. And right now, that's what China is doing. We piss off this relationship, boom, they swooping in. Oh, they want to cut off your US aid. Hey, we can swoop in. Like that's what they are doing. The sad part about MAGA is that they are not understanding that Donald Trump is talking about the 1700s. He's talking
Yeah.
about the Gilded Age. And no matter how much they may want this, it's not that we won't go back. It's like we cannot go back to the 1700s. We can't do that. And if we don't stay competitive and if we don't continue to make progress and not just be stagnant or regressive, the rest of the world will keep moving and we will be left sitting here. We're going to miss out on technology. We're going to miss out on energy. All of those infrastructure projects and stuff that Biden was putting into place where we can make our own chips, we can make our own batteries, we can actually build up, but we have to build from the bottom up and the middle out. We can't build from the top down because we got 50 years of like knowledge knowing that just does not work. So no matter how hard they try to drag us back to the 1700s, we can never go back to the 1700s. That's over, it's dead, it's gone. The Titanic has sank. At this point, if you touch it, it's crumbling and falling apart, right? We cannot go back to that. And I think that's
Yeah,
the part that they keep looking at that with like, they think this was like the best time ever. And they don't even realize that even if you were white in that time, the job that you could have had was being somebody's maid, or you could have been, I forgot what they call them, like concubines or something to these men, but you were never going to climb that ladder. And it's so sad that they can't look ahead and see a good future for themselves or for their children. They just want to look back and be in some weird warped twilight zone that never ever existed. How they see the 1700s, that's not how it was. That's not
no.
real life. It was never as good as they make it out to be.
You know,
Never.
I was in a business for a while where I was dealing with people in China, businesses in
Yeah,
China. It was for electronics. It
yeah,
was for two-way radios. And I've had
mhm,
occasion to negotiate with Chinese people.
yeah,
And what was the standard thought about people in the business I was in and dealing with the Chinese companies and the Chinese people? They fucking hated it because not only they're obviously very smart people and they're good business people, but they don't play by the same rules we do. You know,
mhm,
it's a whole different attitude. And it's not I'm not saying what they're doing is wrong. It's just something I can't relate to because I'm not Chinese. I'm an old white guy. So I can
yeah,
imagine anybody in China negotiating with Donald Trump. Fuck, they'd run circles around him. They would run circles around him. There's no question because Donald Trump just thinks I'm going to be the tough guy and they're going to bend to me. And China is not going to bend. People have
yeah,
to understand when it comes to negotiating trade deals, there is nobody that's going to negotiate a decent trade deal with America until Donald Trump is gone because they can't trust him.
yeah, yeah. I think that people get it twisted, but there's nothing wrong with American exceptionalism, right? There's nothing wrong with that. However, you can't be delusional about it. You can't feel like we can just be America and we could just sit here by ourselves and treat every single other country like crap. And they're going to come begging to us for our business and to do things for them. It's not like even like the eggs is like the perfect example for that, right? We're just the best country. We don't need anybody for anything. We're going to talk bad about every country. And then we turn around and we beg Turkey for eggs because we can't get that together. You know what?
Right.
Like that's, they're being delusional about that. And that's not real life. I think one of the things that has been helping Republicans is making every other country seem like it's just god awful. And so you realize that these people have never been to other states, let alone other countries. They don't know like how green Germany is and how beautiful it is and how much they preserve nature. They don't see that. They've never been to Japan and seen like a railway system or a monorail system or just like super, super clean. All of this technology that they have and just all of these different cultures that you can be exposed to, they don't get to see the beauty in other countries. It's just us and everybody else's crap. So we could just poop on it whenever we want to, and it don't matter. And I do think that the Republican Party have done a very good job of just beating down and talking down other countries
Yeah.
to the point to where a lot of these people is just delusional. They don't think any other country has anything else to offer. Like they just really do think that, which is weird. And I actually got somebody sent me a DM after we did that TikTok live. And I was talking about, Africa deporting Americans, back to America. And I actually had to send this person like some information because he was just like, why the hell would Americans want to go to South Africa? have you been, sir? Like, so
Yeah.
it's like people like that, they can't imagine, like, they think, I guess, Americans in South Africa is like, all right, you can deport us, we gotta go back home. No, that's devastating to these people. They built their lives there. They have homes there, they have family there, friends there, community there. And they went there for a reason because they didn't want to be here. So it's devastating to deport those people and make them come back here when that's their home. You know what I mean? Like, he can wrap his mind around the fact that Americans volunteer to live in other countries. Like, what's wrong with these people? Like, he did not understand that.
Well,
Mind blowing.
what surprises me is when you hear the press secretary or Donald Trump saying it's balls in their court. We're just going to wait
Yeah,
for China to call us.
he
Can't
ain't
you
calling.
see? Can't you see that these fuckers are just buckling down and getting ready to take whatever shit they're going to get just to hammer Donald Trump?
Yeah,
I mean, they're cutting off all shipments of rare earth minerals, which is a big deal because
yeah,
they do 90% of it in this country. And if we don't have the rare earth minerals, we can't make batteries, we can't make military equipment, we can't make electronics, computers, cell phones, and
yeah,
all that stuff. That's some serious shit. These people right now seem to be in a mindset where they don't want to just not trade with America. They want to cripple America. And I can't
yeah.
blame them for wanting to do that since Donald Trump attacked them for no reason.
And look how much American debt they own. Like,
Yeah,
like, I ain't no punk, but if I owe you money, I'm not going out of my way to piss you off. Like, we good, all right, we cool. But I'm
right,
not
right.
going out of my way to piss you off, and I owe you money. Like, the heck is, like, they don't. But I understand. I realized that there was a lot of people. I don't want to say that they were just kind of like dumb, but a lot of people were disengaged. They didn't know anything about politics. They couldn't tell you who their governor or senator was. They half the people couldn't even tell you who the VP is, right?
Right.
And those people who are completely ignorant, and I'm not saying stupid, but just completely ignorant of the government and how it works and how it runs, and three separate branches of government being co-equal, and that the president is not a king. These are people who literally think the president can do whatever the hell he wants. Gas prices up. Well, Joe Biden just needs to say, hey, drop those gas prices, and they need to do it. Like, they do not understand the concept of government. They don't understand it. They don't get it. Those are the people who Donald Trump spoke to. So now they're trying to be in politics and be involved, but they just don't know how it works. And the information that they do have is lies and conspiracy theory. I'll just put it like that. I don't know how to say how the stuff that they hear, like how that makes sense to them, but that's coming from somebody who does pay attention. So they only know what they've been told and they don't see the other side of it. So I can't call all of them stupid, but I can say a lot of these people are just ignorant and they don't know. But they're gonna learn today. They're gonna learn a lot. Donald Trump is gonna teach them everything they need to know about the government by the time this is all over.
Well, that's the thing. We can talk about the Republicans being evil, trying to overthrow the democracy,
Mm-hmm.
but right now the real problem is they're just incompetent. And I've said that before. When Joe Biden
Yeah,
came into office, he got some things done because he understands how the machine runs. Donald
yeah,
Trump has no clue, and he doesn't want to know. He just wants that machine to work for him. And it's
yeah,
too big a machine to get that to happen. And the incompetence is costing us as much or more than any fucked up ideas or conspiracy theories they have because they just don't know how to deal with the situation. Donald Trump thinks he can isolate us from the rest of the world. I just heard a report saying that you know during the summer months especially there's a lot of people from other countries that want to come to the United States for tourism to the tune of about $90 billion a year. Apparently, that number of people that want to come to the United States has fucking cratered. And why not? If you're not a citizen, who knows? You could end up on a plane to fucking El Salvador. I mean, I will say this Donald Trump, if he's worried about people coming to this country and crossing the border, he's doing a good job because nobody wants to come to this fucking country now. Yeah, it looks like we've got Old Soul locked up here. We'll see what happens. We go through this a lot with this situation here in Georgia. We've got a Wi-Fi system that's probably not all that consistent. We're not in Marjorie Taylor Greene's